Hey, it's Jeff from Home RenoVision here. Today we're talking about electrical hacks. Woo, 2 words probably shouldn't use together. But listen, the deal is this. If you've ever been to the hardware store, they got an entire row dedicated to little shelf spots this big with hundreds and hundreds of products in there. And if you're an average homeowner, you take one look at that and go, well, that's a bunch of stuff I'll know nothing about for the rest of my life. And you move on. But there is some really great stuff in that aisle that you would probably love to have on your job site. So what I'm gonna do in this video is share with you some of my favorite tips and tricks that I learned from that aisle over the years that you can implement at home and it'll make your life a lot easier, okay? First thing we were gonna talk about, extension cords. You can't go cheap, all right? If you are using power tools that are designed to be used at 15 amps and you don't buy a 14 gauge wire, you are selling yourself short on your tools. If you buy yourself a 16 gauge wire, which is a traditional cheap extension cord, you're gonna plug that in, your tool's gonna work at half of its performance. You're really ripping yourself off. Now, good extension cords are gonna cost a little bit of money, all right? It's almost $2 a foot for a good cord. And at the end of the day, I think they're worth it. One, a good cord like this is going to be very, very flexible, all right? We're gonna see it's a 3-prong plug and it even lights up when there's power in it, which is brilliant because how many times have you gone to use a tool and it's not powered and you check, well, it's plugged in. This light will actually shine and you'll know you have this end plugged in properly. Most of the time, there's nothing wrong with the tool, just the thing got pulled out of the wall. So, handy dandy little gadget. I recommend you have one of those. And there's a few other things that you can do with a plug like this that makes your life simple. Let's say, for instance, you want to paint a room. Now, there are a lot of houses in this world that did the wiring kind of weird back in the 60s and 70s. They bring the power to the room, go to the light switch, and then they use a 3-wire, a red, a black, and a white, and they'd go to all the wall plugs around the room. And the top part of that plug was wired so that if you turn the light switch on, your lamps would light up. And the lighting in the room was switched to lamps. There was no overhead lights. If you got a room like that and you want to paint, it's maddening because you can't see anything and you don't want to have lamps and cords hanging around all over the place, right? So we got an option. Right here, option number 1. This is a little wall plug, costs about $1, and you can stick that in any wall socket. Guess what? That's right, you can put a light bulb in it. How awesome is that? Instant light. You can put one on each side. And now this light bulb here, while I'm talking about light bulbs, is an incandescent light bulb. Yes, they still sell this. You know why? Because it's what they call, I'll give you the English side, rough service bulb. You can still buy this light bulb in that electrical aisle. It doesn't break. It's extremely strong. And what happens with this is, this bulb is 100 watts. It is crazy bright. And it'll help you to do all of your drywall touch-ups and all of your repairs on your walls while you're painting, and you'll see every single flaw in the room. And if you can patch it perfect, then you can paint it perfect. But you're gonna need to buy this little gizmo and this little cool light bulb here, and that's gonna be the key to success. The other option you have is, of course, you have, let's say, a light fixture in the room, and you don't have any power. You can buy this little gizmo, okay? This is an extension. Again, you can throw your light bulb in here, and then you can twist that into your little light fixture, and now you've got a receptacle. You can add power to a place where you didn't have access to it before. That can come in really handy too, because in the middle of construction, sometimes one of the circuits are out or something like that, and this little gizmo is a lifesaver. It's also a great way to bring power out to the backyard. You can plug this into your flood lamp or into a post light and give yourself the ability to put in an extension cord and hook up your weed whacker to it or something. Worth a couple of bucks, great gizmo. Another great thing you can do is you can take this. Let's say you want to go work up in your attic, all right, or in the top of the garage or some other place where they don't have any lights. You can plug this into your extension cord, throw in a 100-watt rough service bulb, and just toss it over the rafters. Crazy, I know, but 100-watt light bulb in an attic will light up the whole room like it's your living room. And that is money in the bank. That makes life really simple. You don't have to wear a headlamp or walk around with some sort of a, $180 flashlight or something. Just buy a $5 bulb and a $1 thing and stick it on an extension cord. You're good to go. Now, what happens if you have an extension cord and the ends get cut off? You have an accident, you cut through your cord, not a problem. You can fix your cord. Now, if you're in a trade and you're working on a work site, you're not allowed to do this because the rules for safety in our country, and apparently they won't let you fix your cord. You have to buy a brand new one because your cord have to have stickers on them. These stickers indicate to an inspector that the cord is still in manufactured condition. But as a homeowner, we can break all the rules. What you can do is you can take your cord, cut back the wire. There you go, you got a ground, you got your hot, and you got your neutral. All right, you close that back up around your wire, throw your screw in, boom, repaired extension cord. That's a $50 extension cord, folks. That is $1.25. You tell me which way you would rather go, because that's money in the bank. Another option you might need is what we call the pigtail. That's another light socket, okay? Regular size bulb, comes with black and white ends, all right? You just pull those tabs off. A lot of people have got a center room light, we're gonna call it. It's just a one little round box in the middle of the room. And if you're painting your ceiling, you have to remove the light fixture to paint, right? Duh. So you take the light fixture off. You can take one of these, they're a little over $1. You twist the black and the white together. Grab yourself a couple of these blue morettes. Now maybe I'll just demonstrate real quick. If you're not familiar with this sort of thing, electrical work is not difficult. You take your two wires together. Now, in this case, you're going to put the black to the black and the white to the white, but for the purpose of the demonstration, I'll just show you how to connect wire. Two quick little twists like that. You take your blue cap and you set it on, and you just go like this until your fingers can't tighten anymore. Now you got a completed circuit, guaranteed to work. You can hang that with that rough surface bulb, for instance, just a few bucks, and you can have the room lit up like Christmas, and you can make sure that you do an awesome job on your paint. The next round of gizmos we're going to get into are a little bit more if you're building or making adjustments to your house or adding circuits or moving things around. You know, it's a little confusing. Most people are familiar with a regular receptacle or a single light switch, but if we go back and let's say we're doing a major renovation, let's start from the very beginning. If you're in a home where you need a vapor barrier, you can actually attach this to a stud and then you can cut a little hole, run your wire in it, and put your box inside. This is the vapor well, okay? And then when you run your plastic, you simply cut the hole open, and now you've got a continuous vapor barrier. You just use a little bit of that acoustic caulking around and squish it all together. Done. The only other way to do a really good vapor barrier is take a bunch of plastic, wrap it, stick it, and then you got to cut the plastic, pull it all out. It's all wrinkly. You got to tape it all up. It takes forever. But if you use one of these, it's clean and simple and fast. And it might be a lot easier for you to just run a couple of plugs on your outside wall using this system. There you go. Now, one of the most popular questions we get on the channel is about how to deal with like a stucco ceiling or a stipple ceiling. It's been painted or it's asbestos, and it's just a nightmare to try to make the ceiling smooth, which is all the rage, right? Everybody wants a nice smooth ceiling. What you can do is you can watch our video. We'll put a card up here. It's our drywall tips and tricks video, and I demonstrate real quickly how to cover over your drywall with another layer of drywall. Problem is all of your octagon boxes in your ceiling where your light is, they're not going to be long enough now. So when you go to put your light fixture up, the screws aren't going to make it. One of the ways you can solve that problem, instead of trying to shop for the right screws, is you can buy one of these. All right? This is what's called a box extender. Now, you see the little tab here. All you do is if the box is here, you take your box extender and you slide it over and you tighten the original screws down and it extends it another 1/2 inch. Okay? Now you can buy these in 1.5 inch depth as well, and you can use any variation of combinations of all these. You can extend the box 2 feet if you want to. As long as the wire is long enough that you can access it, you can keep adding extensions. They are expensive, but they do solve a problem in a situation like I was describing with the ceiling. You can extend the box and make sure that you're going to pass your inspections. That's brilliant. Oh, and while we got the box out, let's show you this. Okay. I really should have brought my knife. One other thing you might run into when you're doing your remodeling is you're going to be finished with a box that's in the ceiling. Now, one of the things we can't do when we're renovating is we're not allowed to leave electrical buried in the ceiling. You've got to have access to it. And you're going to find that in certain situations, you're going to be like, oh, I wish the box was just gone. I don't want to hang a light there. You can do this, you can hang a plate. You can paint this plate the same color as the ceiling if necessary. Because it comes shiny, you can cover it in flat ceiling paint. But here's what I wanted to show you. These boxes, the holes line up with the holes that are in that octagon plate. This is all very standard sizing. So when you put it over top your octagon, okay, even if you need more space because you added ceiling to it, look how long that screw is. That'll go from the box through the new drywall right into that, no problem. This covers up the hole, and that officially can be a junction box still. And that's the key. Sometimes you'll have a junction of wires in there, and you've got to have access to it according to code. So by using something like this, you can get a nice, clean, finished look and not have to have an ugly box or stuff it in the ceiling. Alrighty, now other tips and tricks. Let's go with this. The low voltage trick. Seems like everybody nowadays is putting low voltage wiring through all their house. When I'm thinking back, I remember when Cat 3 and Cat 4 were going in, and I've had people over the years renovate their entire house from Cat 3 to every corner of the house thinking, oh, technology is advancing so fast, soon we'll be able to communicate with all of our devices in the house with Cat 3 wire. And what happened? But at the same time that they came up with that, everything went wireless. Oh well, so much for all that wire, eh? Anyway, there still are some advantages to this system. You can still use that category 5 wire to run security systems, for instance, or video feeds, or all kinds of other wonderful things. And if you want to have it, or you're running good old-fashioned cable TV or a phone line, I know not too many of us with those anymore, but you know what? It's not a bad idea to have at least one landline in a house, especially if you live in the country. Because even when the power goes out, the phone will still work if you buy an old phone. Now, here we go. This is a low voltage box. What you do is you put it on the drywall. You trace the box out, okay, around these little screws, and then you would cut that with a drywall saw. All right? Piece of cake. Now you've got a hole in your wall. You take this tab and you bend it over, all right, and it actually wraps around the drywall. And then the screw goes through the hole and then through the backside, and then it actually pinches together for a good bond. And you do that on the top and the bottom, okay? And you've got what we call a low voltage box. Now low voltage means it's not hooked up to the 15 amps of the house, it's hooked up to another device system like a sound system or a security system. It doesn't run a lot of power and there's no risk of electrocution. In those scenarios, you're allowed to just cut a hole, put this on, and then these holes line up with any of the cover plate options that you have out there. These are also great if you're going to mount a TV on a wall and you've got your receiver and your box and everything down on a table. You can punch a hole like this in the drywall behind your receiver and one behind the TV and run all your cables in the wall. And one of the finished plates actually comes with a slit in the middle with all this little black hairy foam stuff, okay? And so you can push your wire through the foam and it keeps it nice and sealed up. And that is a great way to make a modification to a room to give yourself a brand new modern look in an old house. This next box is actually going to be used on this island because I still have to run 2 outlets on the island because I have to be up to code. Now, what you do with this, and I know this sounds almost crazy, but you can cut the hole for the island. Okay, I'm gonna just draw it right here for you. You measure a hole to cut just behind the screws. Okay, boom, 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 boom. And you can cut that out. You can use a drill and a jigsaw, all right? And then now I'm gonna have a hole in my island. And what this box allows me to do is collapse, and I can actually feed it through the hole, all right? And then when I tighten the screws up, you see how low that gets? I just need to have this edge of the box grab maybe 1 millimeter, like a 1/16 of an inch on each side. Okay, and then I've actually got that box fixed to whatever thickness the panel is. If you have 3/4 or 5/8 or 1/2 inch, doesn't matter. This adjusts for everything. And these are designed by the backs being cut off. These corners being cut off are designed so that you can set it on the front of the panel and then rock it in to place, all right? And then tighten them up. Now this is a brilliant little gizmo, awesome for islands and hard to reach places. Probably one of the most underused, least respected, and most valuable boxes on the whole planet. Because if you have an island and you do it any other way, you're gonna make a mess of everything. And if you cut the hole too big, there's nothing for anything to grab onto. And then you're going to be drilling holes and trying to throw screws into the side of something else in your island. It's just a mess. So take your time, cut the hole a little bit shorter than the total width of the panel here, and then you will have great success doing all your island plugs. The next thing you're going to want to buy in that electrical aisle is this. All right? Everybody on the planet should own a roll of this. This is just good old-fashioned electrical tape. And you know what? Just for the heck of it, give this video a thumbs up if you've ever seen me in one of my videos with an electrical tape Band-Aid. That's right. I don't use this very often doing electrical work, but I love to have a roll of this in the toolbox because everybody should have a roll of this Band-Aid. I don't care how bad your injury is. You could almost turn this into a tourniquet if you needed to and stretch it on real tight to stop blood from flowing if you got a really bad cut. But this is awesome because when you get to the hospital, they always want to check you out before you actually get in, and you can undo the tape relatively easy and then seal it back up again. Show me another Band-Aid that does that. So, next product I'm going to show you, it's been on the market a long time and very underused, but it's kind of cool. This little switch here is designed to go in the door assembly. All right? Now this takes some special tools. You're going to have a kind of cutout tool that you can cut into the door jamb to set this and then run the wire to it. This is a really freaking awesome tool. What this is, and I know it's going to blow your mind, it's a switch for your door. So when you open your door, it's released and the light turns on in the closet. How cool is that? Now you don't have to have a regular switch. You just walk in, you open a door, the light turns on. Brilliant. Front halls, master bedroom closets, all that kind of stuff. If you want to control the switch with the action of the door, you can use that. Nowadays, you can also buy motion sensor lights. I know the world's changing so fast. There are so many options. But if you want to keep things cheap and cost effective, having a switch like that gives you just a touch of class, and it's a relatively low price. Now, as far as that's concerned, let me show you one of the coolest plugs on the market. This is for everybody who wants to mount a TV on the wall, and you want to mount it flush. This is a receptacle. Okay, how awesome is that? It actually goes into the box. All right, this is also really good if you want to hang a picture and put a light on it. That's a little old 80s technique, but these are great options behind sofas and other furniture. It gives you a lot more room to play with because you can have the plug in the hole and the cord draping just out in front of it. Okay, these are awesome. They're actually really cost effective. They're not much more than a regular receptacle, and you don't need a cover plate. All comes in one. This is one of these things you can buy. If you have a house and you got one of those 5x7 bathrooms, this might be the solution for you because you have one switch, and the original switch used to wire the fan and a light here and a light there. In this scenario, you're able to bring in the power and split it up through 3 different feeds. So one power supply, 3 different feeds, 3 different switches, okay? The shower light, the vanity light, and the bathroom fan can all, you don't have to change the power supply in that situation, just the fixture. So you can use existing power because those houses were wired different. Today we run all the plugs on one, we run all the lights on another, and then the GFI on another circuit. But this, in an old situation, can give you the flexibility to have one power supply that you have now and turn it into having control over 3 different functions. That is a stellar thing, and I think there's a lot of people out there who are renovating their old houses who would love to have that kind of flexibility and not have to rewire the whole house just to get it done. Next thing I want to talk about, tools. All right, now everyone needs a side cutter. And this is awesome because it's pointed and it gives you a lot of flexibility. And then you need a wire stripper. It has the different gauge of wire on here so that you can take the sheathing and remove it. It works relatively simple. And if you want to see it in operation, we have a link up here. I wired my whole bathroom, and so you can click the link. But here's a tool from Crescent. It's a 2-in-1. And this is a handy little tool. All right? And you can go check out the video description. And we'll have a link to our international tools down there, which is an affiliate link. So you shop there, you help support our channel. That'd be appreciated. But the point of this is, this tool can give you everything in one so that you don't have to have a bunch of different tools hanging around. It's kind of awesome. I enjoyed this a lot, actually. So cheers, Crescent. They sent this to me for free, full disclosure. But I actually enjoyed using it. So, great gift. Now, finishing plates. I have found so many people have made this mistake, not in residential, I'm talking like new home construction, all right? They make a hole that is almost the same size as the plate. And then when they put it all together, the plate sticks on like this, and there's these spots, these corners, these little ugly areas that you can see the hole around the plate, okay? And part of that's because the blocks are installed twisted, or the hole was cut on a bit of an angle, and it's just not pretty, right? When you can see that nasty gap. And most people don't know about this because you never wandered down that aisle with 8,000 things on the shelf. It's called, and we used to call it a king size plate. What's this one? This one's called a larger, a 3/8. Now watch this. And you can see how big this is and how much mercy this covers. Bam. Look at the extra space you got on that, okay? If you're somebody that you hung all your drywall and you used a drywall knife to cut around where the boxes were gonna be and then you hung the drywall, you probably end up with a gap like that. Now you can use expansion foam and tape and drywall mud and 3 coats and sanding, but if you're at the end of the job and you're putting all your finishes on and that's when you find that you have a problem, this is the solution. This is like a buck. You go to the store, you buy this, the job's done. And if you have to, you can change 3 or 4 plugs in the same room to the same size so they all look the same. It's just a couple bucks, but the job's still done, okay? It's perfectly acceptable. Just use a larger plate, cover your mess. If you're doing tile in your kitchen, larger plate. Because when you trim around the screws, it's a really tight area and you might not have the best looking tile cut. Especially if you're using glass, you'll get scratches and stuff. Use a large size plate and it'll cover all of those mistakes and make you look like a pro. All right? This is my last little gizmo. I'm gonna show it to you because this is one of the coolest inventions in the world. I just wish to make it easier to open. All right. We did a video, and we'll throw the link up here, about how to do subway tile. And I got a lot of slack in that video. People were calling me out, oh, you didn't grind around the screw. Let me draw this up. So I had a box, right? And that's like this. And then you've got your receptacles, right? Okay. And then that's on a little thing like this, and then it's got these little tabs on it with the holes, and there's a little hole right here. Okay, and the same thing down here. There's a hole right here. Okay, and this is where the screw from the plate goes. And when I cut my tile, I cut this line right here. And these people were saying, oh, you can't put your cover plate on because you didn't grind a hole for that screw in your tile. Okay? Now listen, if you live in the market where you're using glass and you try to grind that, you're gonna get an ugly mess on your tile all around. Can you even see the screw coming out the backside? Just barely, eh? This screw is designed to be attached with a single thread, okay? Right into this. And if you look at these boxes, these switches, these little holes are actually raised off the wall. So I can actually attach this into this, pulled tight up against tile, and I don't need to cut around it, all right? And once I've screwed that on, this actually snaps in place. Now, if you're in a kitchen and you've got a backsplash tile and you've got a snap-on cover, it is even easier to keep that kitchen clean. It's brilliant. 2 reasons. If things aren't perfectly aligned, you can actually back out the screw a little bit, give you a little more room, snap it on. If your tiles are textured and they're making it so that nothing's closing up properly, you can make those adjustments and snap it on. But you can always clean it off, and you can always remove these things. And you don't have to spend all day long fussing around with a grinder trying to make that screw hole perfect, which is a huge waste of time, okay? So, buy snap-on plugs and covers. They even sell a snap-on situation where the plug is already made to receive the cover and snap right onto it. You don't have to use this bracket. All right? So there's lots of options out there. Feel free to explore the aisle, okay? And if you have yet to subscribe to our channel, hit the button. Join our community, all right? We're here to help. If you got questions, throw them in the comment section. And if you'd like to see some of the other videos we've done on our bench series that give a lot of explanation to things you may not have thought about before, but now that you've watched the video, you're so glad you took the time because you'll learn some things, right? Click the link up here. You can follow along our whole bench series. A to Z's on just about every little knick-knack in the house that'll make life a lot easier as you renovate. Thanks for joining us. We hope you have a successful renovation, and if you need help, consider joining our membership program. You can send us pictures and emails and we can be there to help you out. Cheers.